Former minister and founder of Something or Other Publishing, Wade Franson is the host of Created in the Image of God, a series that examines the role of religion in society, from messianic returns to the emotive responses transmitted through our culture. Wade fearlessly addresses reality claims from all directions, objectively exploring their compatibility with Holy Scripture. Tonight's episode, The Human Essence of Economics, with Bruce Koerber.
Good evening, everyone. This is Wade Franson, and it is Created in the Image of God. Unfortunately, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties this evening with getting our guest in the studio, and we may have started a minute or so late, but we now have our guest live in the studio. So I'm very excited to not have to sort of wing this without a fully prepared script, and instead be able to reintroduce our monthly visitor on the topic of economics, Bruce Koerber. Welcome to the studio, Bruce.
Wade, thank you for inviting me. Somehow we didn't connect right away. I've been waiting, and we had the wrong link or whatever. So
we had wires crossed. We were in parallel universes.
Right.
But welcome for the third installment. No, is this the third?
Yes.
Third installment now. We've covered micro and macroeconomics, and tonight, you tell us what the main topic is tonight.
Well, it's microeconomics, an alternative microeconomics in the under the umbrella of the divine economy theory.
That's right. We actually covered macroeconomics last time, right? So it's microeconomics this time. We went into a definition, so we don't need to do the normal covering your background. We've covered that. Suffice it to say, you studied both forestry and then economics. You tend towards the school of Austrian economics, and you have the divine economy model, which looks at us not as production units, not as data, not as numbers, but rather as creative beings. So highlight for everyone who may be new tonight the overview of the divine economic theory before we get into microeconomics.
Well, it basically recognizes that humans are subjective and that they're spiritual. And so the correct methodology then has to be able to incorporate both of those if you want to understand what economics is about.
Well, we don't normally do this so quickly, but I'm going to throw this comment in from one of our audience members, E Horizons. Can't wait to see how God ties into this. So why don't you start there? And how does God tie into economics?
Well, the idea is that there's essential harmony between science and religion. So there should be a way of joining those two. So in the science of economics, or in the economic literature, what is spoken of as this balancing power is called equilibrium, economic equilibrium. That is God. So there's the answer to that question.
Well, how does classic economics, or let's say physical material economics, view that balancing factor? If God is that, well, how do they who don't believe in God tend to view that?
Well, that's a question that can lead in a lot of different directions, and I'm gonna mention this really quickly. So, what happens is, let's use this analogy. Okay, if you have a target 100 yards away, and on that target is a bullseye, and you're standing with a rifle aiming at that bullseye, if your aim is just a little bit off, it's going to miss completely by a long shot. I mean,
Well, I love the analogy of the moon landing, right? If you're off by a millionth of a degree, you'll be sent into everlasting darkness and miss the moon by hundreds of thousands of miles.
Same thing. So what happens is, in economics, is the reason it's floundering is because they're using the wrong methodology, and that's causing all the chaos in the economy and in economics itself, because it's started off at the wrong place. So the correct place is the place that allows uh, subjective nature of humans and the spiritual nature of humans to be part of the science.
Wonderful. I think you've answered E Horizon's question there, and I've now found my notes in the rush to actually get you into the right studio. I neglected what I had right there in front of me, which was the opening comments. Last month we looked at, or last month we looked at macroeconomics. This month's installment looks at microeconomics, which analyzes the behavior of small units like households and companies. However, like macroeconomics, which is analyzed quantitatively, so is microeconomics, even though we are talking about smaller variables, i.e., individuals. So we use the example when the Feds decided to make a big swing in economic policy that a few weeks ago with a 50 basis point cut in interest rates due to concerns about a slowdown in the labor market. They're looking at individuals and households as production and consumption units. But your position is no, it's really qualitative, and one needs to take into account the creative energy of individuals. So give us a practical example how that works at the individual level. And I think you've used the term entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So an entrepreneur in the world that we're talking about, with where the economics is seen in a spiritual sense. First of all, the entrepreneur is a spirit. Entrepreneurship is a spiritual action, because what it is an entrepreneur is alert. You know, every human being is a seeker after truth, but just an entrepreneurship is just that alertness is seeking after truth. But just like with
But it would be applied to a specific situation, specific local circumstances, specific
right,
problems and challenges, i.e., providing for yourself, your wife, your children, your family, or your husband. I don't want to, insist the man be the breadwinner, but providing for others, engaging in creative action.
but the thing is that same characteristic has two parts to it. I think a lot of times it's either latent or active. So people that are really not seeking too much, they have the potential, but they're not really being alert. So even though they have the potential, it's in latency, and so the entrepreneur is this person who is actively uh, engaging with that quality, that human quality, and being alert and discovering, opportunities, discrepancies, ways to be of service.
Got it. So in the Baha'i faith, which you're a member of, as am I, um, you've got this idea that work is worship, right? And so I'm assuming that also ties into how and why you view the economy in terms of the divine economy model. Is that fair? Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's no disconnect between the human and their creator. I think we're, again, because the science went in the wrong direction. We don't really see those two as being uh, you know integrated. But if I was to describe this divine economy, divine microeconomy, that's part of the divine economy theory, you would see that everything is connected to the appearance of virtues, which are the names and attributes of God. So that all of a sudden everything's directly a in congruence with God, because everything all our aspirations, all our everything we do is intimately connected to this, uh, to the source of values. The origin of all value is the appearance of these names and attributes of God. So everything that we value, everything we choose, it's all related to that. So
I'm reminded of that quote about, I'm trying to remember who said it. I'm having a brain freeze, I know, but it'll come to me in a minute. You might know, others might know in the audience. He knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. It's something like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that quote, talking about an individual. Um, I love that you tie it down to attributes of God, virtues, names of God, and that's where value originates. Here's a comment from Sienna, the Sovereign Gardener. What do you mean by humans being subjective? On independent investigation of truth, does one need to believe in an objective spiritual reality to naturally come upon sound discoveries? This also ties into a question I had. You mentioned science having gone in a wrong direction. And I assume you mean economics. The science of economics is missing the mark by a degree.
right.
By the way, the one definition of the word sin is simply missing the mark, failing to hit the target. I don't know if you knew that. If you go into the etymology of the words,
Yeah.
to sin is to miss the mark, to fail to hit the target.
Okay. So to answer Sienna's question, what do we mean by humans being subjective? Okay, so we, I think you would know this quote very well, Wade. We see the only partially. Well, there's a Bible quote about that. About
Well,
anyway.
we know in part, we see through a glass darkly.
Right. Okay. So every human being, they're finite. Their minds are finite. They cannot comprehend beyond what they know, and what they know is what they've learned, what they've experienced, and so here's the thing: every human being is rational, unless they're mentally ill or under this influence of a drug or something, because what they're even though to another person they think, oh, that was not a very rational thought. It is rational because it's based on everything that they know and from their experiences of their life and the intelligence that they're using to decipher that and to act upon it. So and everyone does that. Nobody is omniscient or omnipresent. Those are the qualities of God. Humans have just pieces of that, and so whatever they think or act based on is a subjective understanding. Now you say, well, is there objective truth or is it objective reality? Well, I don't know if there is, or I imagine there is, but our understanding of it is always subjective. So
Well, data can help us get at subjectivity, looking at a variety of data points, some of which may be conflicting, can help us move towards objectivity. But this is a deep and profound topic. We actually have somebody coming on in a few weeks, but I was speaking to him recently about the difference between religion and superstition, right? And one of the things is identifying hermetically sealed belief systems. This is my term. A belief system that's hermetically sealed, that's self-referential in its logic, right? So in our church years ago, we sought to break out of this and become more objective, but it was clear that it was easy to view everything in terms of a test by Satan, or excuse me, Satan trying to deceive us, or a test of God, right? And we interpreted all of our experiences through that lens. And if you could sort of toss off any challenge to your reality, to your hermetically sealed belief system, by saying, well, that is Satan trying to deceive you, right? Then that leads to book burnings and a failure to allow oneself and one's ideas to be confronted by science, right? Or another person's view, another person's opinion. I want to go back to one comment, and then we'll actually show your video to go to a commercial break. John Jackson threw this out there when we were talking about entrepreneurship, truth and loopholes, and I asked him to unpack what he meant, and this was his answer. Being an entrepreneur requires one to think outside the box or get buried by competitors, especially when you're the first to come up with something. Loopholes to get around why others haven't done it yet are the key. So that's the truth seeking, right? To think outside the box, to overcome that received understanding, which, and this is where religion gets into superstition, I guess, is we receive the word of God and we receive it gladly and with gratitude, and we accept it. So in that sense, I'm a fan of received understanding. The problem is we interpret it, others interpret it. Sometimes we receive the interpretations of others rather than digging into the revelation itself. We're off on a tangent here, but
yeah, my comment on that is that everything is ephemeral. So an entrepreneur is taking action and maybe making a discovery, and there's no permanence to that. So entrepreneurship, the best way to understand entrepreneurship is to combine it with another term. It's competitive entrepreneurship. So sure, other people are going to, if they see it, they might mimic it. That's just the reality. You know, they're trying to basically serve the king, which is the consumer is sovereign. That's who's directing. That's what's directing the choices that are being made by entrepreneurs. They're trying to get people what they want. Okay, and if someone discovers what people want, and if someone is alert that they've made that discovery, it's competitive entrepreneurship. They're going to continue. You know, so there, you can't rest on your laurels if you're an entrepreneur. I mean, that's not.
Well,
that goes contrary to what the definition of an entrepreneur is. You know, if you discover something and then think you can just stay there, then you now went back into latency instead of being an active entrepreneur.
Yeah, there's that aspect of creative destruction, which is current in business consulting and the funding of startup ideas and all that, right? So lots of good comments here. We're going to go to a commercial break, but I want to thank God is Good for reminding me and us that it was Oscar Wilde who said he knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. Value is derived from God, who reveals it through his names, the virtues, right? That's what did I understand you correctly? And I love that as a basic model for an economy and where value truly comes from. I know you also have a lot of prepared slides and or quotes, which I have ready. So when we come back, perhaps we'll dive into those. But first, here is an intro to Bruce and his divine economy model in tonight's show, The Human Essence of Economics. We'll be right back.
Essence of economics, is it the numbers we see on charts? Or is it something more human? At its heart, economics is about value, how we create it, share it, and seek it. It's about the everyday decisions we make to improve our lives. What if prices are a language, a way the market communicates with us? Each price is a message, guiding choices and driving action. Every decision impacts the economy, from where we spend to how we innovate. We are the ones shaping the market. In this book, Bruce Koerber explores how subjective human values are at the core of our economic system. This isn't about abstract models. It's about real choices in an ever-changing world. The Human Essence of Economics by Bruce Koerber. Get your copy today and rethink how we create, trade, and thrive. Available now at Amazon.
Welcome back to Creating the Image of God. We're here with Bruce Koerber, third installment, The Divine Economic Theory. Let's start this segment out by answering this question and then go into your materials. Here's from Peace on Earth. How did you come to the concept of divine economy? Did something in Austrian economics inspire this idea?
Well, I understood from, I guess, mostly from my origin story, but also becoming a Baha'i, understanding and that's one of the things that attracted me to Baha'i faith was the idea of the essential harmony of science and religion. And when I learned about Austrian economics, which uses subjectivism, I saw inside that the Austrian economics basically the ability to have the essential harmony of science and religion in economics. And that's why then when I had the dream that showed me the image that basically is the model that I developed in all these books, that enabled me to show how to specialize in the divine economy theory, which is a subset of Austrian economics.
Well, I've been looking at a couple of the prepared diagrams. I'm going to share one here. I don't know if you had intended this to be shared or shared first, but it seems to address exactly this.
Yeah. Yeah, so classical liberalism is where Austrian economics originates from, and they identify value as subjective. So that was kind of the first step to go in the direction that we want to go. Austrian economics then identified that the value at the margin is the key to human action, and they also systematized that methodology of subjectivism. And then the divine economy theory, what that is, I made visual the systematized methodology of subjectivism. And in the process of developing this, I found that the origin of value, and it's also this essential harmony of science and religion concept, found that the origin of value to be the appearance of the virtues in all things. So consumers, they value the virtue of the consumer good, the virtue that the consumer good offers, and producers produce goods and services that provide those virtues. That's why they are able to sell their products, because they have those virtues.
They instill something of themselves, whether it's their innovation around process, whether it's their labor, their creativity, right? I mean, there are all kinds of ways.
I think it's more serving the king, the consumer. They incorporate the virtue that people want, not their own virtues, but the virtues that the consumer wants. That's the only way they'll have success. If they do it just what they want, maybe no one else wants that. They do it what people want, and then they'll know that they'll be able to make income from it.
So I'm a fan of music. I'm reminded of Todd Rundgren. I'm dating myself for those who know him, although he's been around for many decades. But he put out an album many years ago. Something about the ever popular tortured artist effect was the name of the album, something like that. And I'm reminded of that right now because the idea of art, right, which might be art for art's sake, right, where one does not have in mind that king, that consumer, and the purist who would be appalled at the idea that he's creating his art to be purchased, right? How does that concept factor into the consumer being king?
Well, it doesn't have to, but at some point, a person has to have income to live. So that's where the consumer as king comes into the picture, because for you to have income, you have to produce something that enables you to receive income. So I mean that people who have leisure and expression, that's not necessary. I mean that it doesn't have to, other than express their own interest. It's not, they're not doing it because to eat. They're doing it for other reasons. So humans, when if a person gets to a point where they have what they need as far as sustenance, and that's the beauty of being able to be able to, for that the economy provides for people. So they get to the point where they have the ability then to do things for other reasons, higher things. It's like there's material goods and there's ideal goods. So material goods would be like getting the food you need, and then ideal good would be maybe being able to have a sip of coffee and watch the sunrise.
Well, let me tell a little story and see how you react to this. So I was born in Canada, went to school in Sweden, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. While I was there, I learned a little bit, or at least became aware of the idea of socialism, and Sweden being a socialist country. And even though as a young boy in Sweden, I was very much excited about the Olympics and hockey and how Sweden was competitive against big nations like Russia, Canada. And of course, the United States was nowhere on the hockey scene in those days. That only came later when they got into the big, competition with Russia. And that was more about politics and theater than it was the game of hockey. But anyway, the point is, when I came back to America in the middle of 6th grade, I was arguing with people, I was arguing with the kids about the virtues of socialism over capitalism. Now, I didn't really know what I was talking about, and they knew even less, but we were nonetheless arguing about it, right? Now, fast forward, I returned to Europe after graduating from college, and I went to Germany. And I was there working in an office, and I was a ministerial trainee. And as such, we had these speaking clubs that are patterned after Toastmasters. And so one of my first speeches in German, I quoted the Bible where it says, "If a man does not work, neither should he eat." Because now I was challenging back that idea of socialism, because there in Germany, they had a very high unemployment rate. And I was noticing around me that people were going to school for like 10, 20 years with no real intention of ever working, right? But they could go to school and they would get, aid from the state to go to school. And then they would maybe change their studies and go to school studying something else. But they would actually not apply that education, that degree, to actually earning a living because the state was providing. And I had one of the young, relatively young men, he was probably in his 30s, he never really worked. He stood up and countered my speech, with the argument that A, the economy wasn't providing, B, capitalism doesn't work, and it is the responsibility of the state to provide when the economy is failing and not providing the jobs that are needed, or not providing jobs at the wage rate that is needed, right? And I was a little bit taken aback by that approach, but I've since heard that approach repeated in many, many different ways. And I've actually heard that approach, or that sort of idea, from a lot of Baha'is, frankly, and many others who argue that somehow the state should provide. And there are arguments about a minimum income provided to everybody by the state, right? That those ideas. How do you feel about some of those ideas? I know there is some pretty clear guidance in the Baha'i writings that is similar to that quote, if a man will not work, neither should he eat. There's a quote I read somewhere about for somebody who is able to work and does not, society owes him nothing. I don't know if you're familiar with that quote, but I'm just curious as to your take on this idea of the economy providing for everybody versus the state providing for everybody.
Is it possible you could show that one diagram where it's got kind of circular with, not circular, but it's basically called production as progenitor. It'd be up.
Is it diagram 6?
It'd be up a couple from, no, up further. That one there. Oh, no, back down. That one there. Okay. So what you see is.
Oops. Sorry. I don't know which one that was. I was trying to make it larger.
Go up. Keep going. There it is.
So diagram number 10. Anyway, go ahead. I will try to make this larger while you talk.
What we have here is scarcity, okay? And scarcity is the reason there's scarcity because there's unlimited wants, but there's limited means. And the solution to scarcity is production, okay? And then production, and what production does is it brings about supply. So production also is it's the diagrams talks about production as progenitor, because then production is what leads to income, and income is what enables people to have demand. So you have everything is coming out of production, okay? So when you say that the state will provide, that I think what people, it's a very simple idea, one that's not thought through very thoroughly, because the state doesn't produce, it basically takes from people. And so nobody is getting, I mean, when you say that the state will provide, what they're saying is people will provide because the state's taking away from them. So it's not very, because the only way that there could be income is from production, not from, I mean, and then in socialism, what you have is you have basically the state, and you would use the word stealing the money from people and giving it to others. And so that's a fair, like that is something that is, well, you know, we know that theft is not a an undesirable trait.
So let's talk about, so I love the way that you're approaching this. Thank you. Very helpful. Let's talk about the system of governance, right? So in a democracy or a republic, as the United States is, we have a representative democracy, and various people elect others, and then delegates. Well, we have a complicated federalist system now, but we have this situation where we have chosen others to represent us and to make laws, and those laws, you know, have included taxation. I know there are, and I'm not asking you to go out on a limb here. I don't know if you've thought much about this. I know there are those who claim that all taxation is illegal. I don't know if that's what you're claiming here when you use the term theft. If a people gets together and decides that they want others to handle certain administrative matters, and including allowing taxation, which everyone in that group is required to go along with or comply. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe unpack that a little bit. because I get it at the individual level. You don't get to tell me how much I should give to the poor, but yet we have a state now that has graduated income taxes that charges some people different rates and has all of this complicated rules and laws as to how and why who pays what, and then what it may and may not be used for, and some of it gets allocated out to other people. The forgiveness of student debt is one current topic which has actually gone to the courts and been declared illegal after certain leaders wanted to do it, and we have that whole discussion. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are that we're now talking about macroeconomics, and I was hoping to stay on the topic of microeconomics. And I wanted to really go into why, how the virtues are at the heart of the microeconomy, and why. So that's what I wanted to focus on. I mean, what you were saying is perfectly compatible with the macroeconomics that I presented last time, because it's voluntary social cooperation that decides the organization of society, whatever level, whatever, however large or small those societies are. They can do it however they wish, and so there's really
and some may work better than others, and we've seen lots of cultural petri dishes, and I was a personal witness to how badly communism worked.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got other factors versus pure economic theory, but at the macro level, it was a failure.
Just like at the micro level, competitive entrepreneurship is what drives it. At the macro level, if there's a society that's choosing one way and another's choosing another way and another's choosing another way, it'll be clear which one people like best, and then they'll be modeled after. So, I mean, that same spirit of competitive entrepreneurship works at the macro level too.
I have to share one of my favorite jokes. My cousin, who was in Sweden, used to say that, in the Baltic Sea there were submarines patrolling, he said, to keep people from entering into the workers' paradise. And they didn't need a wall in the Soviet Union to keep people out. They built a wall to keep people in.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So I don't know how you want to do this, but I do have a series of diagrams. You can go to the beginning one, and I'll just run through them real quick or whatever rate you want me to.
Yep. Well, actually, we're gonna go real quick to another commercial break.
Okay. Right.
Given that there are mouths to feed and people to support, and who support us and support them. When we come back, we'll launch into your diagrams. Don't go anywhere, and thank you very much, everyone, for the comments in the chat. And do like and subscribe and share, because hopefully you're enjoying this as much as I am.
Our water, our food, and our flowers. With the global push towards highly processed, corporatized foods and the demonization of local farms, grass-fed beef, and localized systems, we desperately need to uplift our health and our happiness from the grassroots. A Japanese saying states, "It is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." Embodying the warrior spirit and the innocence of a child, every individual can walk in the garden with purpose, seeking workable ways to co-create a more beautiful world. Planting victory gardens in the midst of a war on agriculture and on culture itself, we can rise like wildflowers. We are free to grow outside. Our health is in our hands. Food freedom and seed sovereignty offer answers to seemingly unsolvable problems. During this series, we will explore food as medicine and natural remedies free from big pharma. We will reveal advice for novice growers from green-thumbed gardeners, permaculture practices that nourish natural beauty, plus playful experiential learning activities and ways to accomplish the divine art of homesteading. Addressing the threats to liberty in related fields, gardeners, farmers, nutritionists, homeopaths, artists, educators, writers, homeschooling parents, and other food and flower enthusiasts will provide exciting solutions. Prose and poetry will illustrate the style of establishing food and flower companions and resisting the urge to pair antagonistic plants and people, requiring proper space to grow. Families of people and plants possess a pure power. The universal language of artful agriculture can create a much-needed momentous unity if growers of all kinds lead by inspiration, not force. Let us unfold interconnected communities from the grassroots, musing on how agriculture can serve as the fertile soil for an organically forming society. I'm Sienna Mayheath, and this is Food is Freedom.
Welcome back to Creating in the Image of God. I'm your host, Wade Franson, here with Bruce Koerber, the founder of the Divine Economy model. And we were talking about microeconomics with a big diversion into macroeconomics. Wanted to just comment on that video that we will be having Sienna Mayheath in this studio on this show in December. She's rolling out that series, and we're very excited to be a sponsor and a supporter, and vice versa. So, Bruce, we wanted to jump into the diagrams so that you can begin to unpack the divine economy model for our audience. So here we go.
No, that's go to the very beginning.
Is that the last one?
That's the last one, yeah. We don't.
So, hang on, let me try this again. I don't have this fully dialed. There we go.
So basically, the economy is organic, and so what we want to look at is the heart of the divine economy. And so this is we were talking about the essential harmony of science and religion. This is the new designation for equilibrium. It is the heart. It is the divine economy. Now you can go to the next slide. And so, like for last time, we talked in episode 114, we talked about the macroeconomics, and that's top picture there. That is the model, the divine economy model at the macro level. But you'll notice at the heart is the divine economy. So that model has multiple dimensions. So what you're familiar with probably is a three-dimensional figure, a X, Y, and Z axis. Well, we just translate that model for because what we're going to do is we're going to develop the microeconomic model. We're going to do this together. So what we basically do is we just put the transformation, order, and justice on that diagram. Go to the next one. So then what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at the heart, because we're looking at the microeconomics. We're looking at the heart of an individual. That's the model. And so what we take a vantage point from the end of each of those vectors, and we look towards the center, and it reveals a two-dimensional plane, like you're looking at a painting or a tablet or a tapestry on the wall. It's two-dimensional. But what's on that tapestry? What resides in the heart? That's what we're trying to figure out, and that would be the next diagram. So what it is each of those. There's six. There's law, order, human spirit, transformation, justice, and unity planes. On each of those planes, there's human virtues that are akin to each of those qualities, concepts, laws, order, human spirit, transformation, and justice, and unity. So that's what this is. We've got to this point in the development of the model of seeing that the heart. Inside each individual, they've got these virtues that are lying there. So we'll go to the next one. And there they are. So we picked out 52. We had used the 52 virtues from the Virtues Project, and we placed them in those quadrants. I mean, in those planes. and those are ones that are virtues that are akin to that, to those planes. And so that's where they reside. And every human being then has all these names and attributes of God in their heart, and they have certain characteristics that, you know, allow them to be, allow us to look at them. So we'll go on after that. So, but basically what I want you to tell you is this alternative microeconomics textbook called Human Essence of Economics tells this, unfolds this theory and this model within, it's embedded in a narrative about a sacred gift. And so now we're going to look at that gift, which is this microeconomic tapestry, microeconomic model. And it has basically these components. It's a causal realistic model. It goes from cause to effect. It goes from virtues to service or product. And so there's this, once it virtues to service, and then there's the desire to aspire to acquire more virtue. So that's the cycle that goes on when virtues to service or product, and that kind of sparks renewal of that. And now that's happening with all these qualities and attributes that are in the hearts of the individuals. So we can go on. So we're talking about this spark. So in the macro model, we have this transformation, human spirit, law, and order with the divine economy at the heart. But at the micro level, it's basically this spark that's causing this desire to acquire more virtues and be of more service. And so this other side is the divine spark. It shows you, and there's certain there's things that activate those that spark, and those things that are activating it in that are driving the urge to take action and to make that virtue shine are these four: perfection, unity, created in the image, and justice. Those tendencies and they're what's driving this igniting that spark. So we can go to the next one. So what does the spark look like, and how is it connected to the human being? So what it is the spark has radial symmetry, just like the human has radial symmetry. And inside, at the heart, is the divine economy. So that's how that, you can go to the next one. So then basically we just place that spark, which talks about all those things that are inspiring the activation of all those virtues on all the aspects of that person's life. You know, how they're the virtues that reflect law, the virtues that reflect order. Those are all being activated potentially. They're all latent in the heart. Okay, and so that we can go to the next one. So that shows you how we talked about this one already, so we can go past that. So what's basically, then we talked about alertness, and so again, just like those virtues that are in the heart, all those virtues, and some are active, some are inactive. So they're active and latent, and they're in the heart. And we talked about entrepreneurship, which is this quality of seeking after truth, being alert, and so that's what advances everything. So I just wanted to show you that entrepreneurship is the key, that quality of being alert and trying to make a change. That is what's driving the economy, and it's stirring that spark, making that spark happen. You can go to the next one. So an example is we have an example of this human spirit plane. Is one of the virtues on that is excellence. Okay, that fits into that plane, and how that manifests itself in the economy. So everyone likes products that are high quality. They're attracted to them. That's what they'll choose. Okay, and product quality comes from as a result of excellence. So we see that all these virtues that we say, well, that how is that related to the economy? Well, it's related to the economy because that's what ends up manifesting itself. So excellence is a virtue, and it shows up in the economy as product quality. Okay, so it's real. All these virtues have real manifestations in the economy, and that's what people want. They're attracted to that, to whatever is the outcome of that virtue. I think that might be it. Oh, okay. So here, I guess one more. So on the patience virtue, patience. Those were. So on that one, it's on the patience is in the transformation plane. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so patience. So an example of that would be, okay, production. We were talking about production. Production takes time. So there's patience in that sense that, and then for production to take place, it requires capital, and capital comes from savings. And savings is a way, is kind of a result of having patience. You save, and your ability to you are able to look beyond the present because you're patient, so you can save,
Yeah.
which brings about capital, which
so this
production.
Thank you. This answers maybe a question I had. I'm going to go back a few.
Okay.
I had a question about this diagram here.
Okay.
Short run and long run and ever advancing economy. I was wondering what you're really getting at there, but maybe patience combined with excellence is one of them, to where in the short run you have to eat and you have to get something going, but you've got a dream, a vision. You start with a prototype of whatever it is just to get moving, but you've got a better idea for excellence in the long run, and now you've saved up capital and you begin to realize a fuller vision. I don't know, is that like maybe a practical example of what this is getting at?
Yeah, this is just showing that this is brought forward from the macro model, where that single line, the short run there, that's that axis, the knowledge, nature and role of knowledge, and so the economy is at a certain place there, but then for it to move forward, which is what it's doing, it's moving to the right, moving towards ever advancing economy. For that to go from where it is now to where it's going to be in the future, entrepreneurship is like the key. It's
Right.
The driving force.
I guess what
that's
caused me to sort of question this diagram a little bit is that you've got short run and long run, and those diagrams are exactly the same. There's no difference between the short run and the long run.
Except one's further along on the ever advancing economy. So
yeah, but what does that look like? Because here it looks like there's no change.
Well, it's changed because it's moved further towards advanced economy.
Okay, but what again? What does that look like? I don't know what that looks
like. Well,
a practical example.
Okay.
I tried to give one a moment ago. Is my point, but.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think you gave a good example. Yeah.
So patience to fulfill your vision, to achieve a greater outcome, a better product, more nodes on a network where the evolution of the thing you're building involves more people, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So this mostly was just to emphasize how important entrepreneurship is. But you know, entrepreneurship is happening everywhere. I mean, like I was just saying that entrepreneurship is either latent or active, and when it's active, it's this seeking after truth, and it's triggering the divine spark, which and the divine spark is what's activating each one of any of those virtues that are in the heart. So it's basically this activator, and
Yeah, a catalyst. So
a catalyst for sure.
I'm going to show a quote here while I get back to where you were in the diagrams. And here's, well, I guess we're maybe done with that. We'll just go to this quote now. This breakdown is amazing. I need to know what made this exciting for you to dedicate so much time to unfold and reveal this to others like this. By Tokens.
Yeah, well, like I said, I had this dream, and that what we talked about in episode 114 was the macro model. The macro model is what appeared to me, and then, or the image that I developed into the macro model. And the more I got into it, and I used my technical training in Austrian economics and the subjectivist methodology to develop it, and the more I developed it, the more it became more unfolded. And so I think what was so exciting was just discovering things as I was going. Like I said, one of the things that I discovered was that, and it's not anything earth-shattering as far as I think a person who's spiritual, but the idea that value can be traced back to an origin now, and that value is the names and attributes of God. So those were things that were just exciting. I was just discovering those things, you know, and being able to have a visual representation of the economic truths that are contained in the economic laws that are known and used.
Perfect. Well, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and I want to show one more audience comment from Celine Elizabeth. I believe I know who Celine is, and in fact, she's an author. She has a little bit of her own entrepreneurial spirit, and we're actually in this whole idea of entrepreneurship, right? Something or Other Publishing, which I founded, is driven also by that similar desire, seeking for truth, giving an opportunity for a variety of people from all perspectives to share their perspective and to publish high quality books with assistance of others in a network. And one of the products that was produced is what this next commercial break is about. And Celine Elizabeth is one of the authors in that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to wrap this up. Well, here we are to wrap up tonight's episode with Bruce Koerber on microeconomics. So Bruce, having walked through all your slides and the model as a whole on microeconomics, what do you want to leave us with? What do you want to share with the audience here, wrapping up? And And I don't know, you're also able to see the chat if there are any comments or any of the chat comments that we didn't cover or did cover that you want to say something about.
Well, so virtues is the key point here. And so economics is the study of means to attain the ends chosen. So economics is means, ends chosen is ethics, and value are really important. So we have means, ends, and values. All are connected so tightly to virtues. So we know that now that the virtues are part of the means, and ethics, of course, is what's virtues, and value is now, we understand, is directly connected to virtues. And so that's really really amazingly significant that everything, ethics, economics, and value are all connected to the virtues.
Well, I had the opportunity years ago now, decade or so ago, to work with the Virtues Project International Association. I was actually on the board, and I was the chairperson one year. Very interesting opportunity to dive deep into models around how those virtues can be deployed in all aspects of life, and how the virtues are the golden thread that runs through all religion, all spirituality, all truth seeking, if you will, as you've presented here. And it's really wonderful to see that cropping up as the basis of value in the divine economy model that you've put together here. And I'll share a comment here from Sharon Leinert. She's been commenting in a number of ways, but continuously in economic forums globally, Baha'i principled models have been presented and continue to be in these forums. And I know that there are a variety of truth seekers who are working in their own way to present progressive ideas, right? Progressive in the positive sense. And I love that. It's interesting. We have a vice presidential debate going on tonight. I'm so glad to see that many people chose to watch this instead of that. Of course, you can also go watch that after the fact. I didn't want to mention it before, and at risk of somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I wanted to watch that," and leaving. But my point being that you have your own. There are a variety of perspectives that are being provided all the time from all different areas around these ideas. There was a reason I brought that up, and now I'm struggling and I'm at a loss as to why I brought up the fact that was going on tonight, other than, I guess, the marketplace of ideas and the choices that people have to make, and that around the world people are working to improve.
Right.
And it's not easy. It's not always easy to apply. And it's really good to have the basis of a model be virtues. So one of our regular fans, I'd rather watch this any day. Thank you very much, Crackers. And glad you were here. So maybe it'll come to me in a moment why I brought that up. There was a more coherent reason. Maybe it's just getting late and my caffeine's running out. Any last thoughts, Bruce, before we wrap it up tonight and go ahead and show the sneak peek video for next week's show?
Well, I am the author of 4 books, and the next one is on the ethical economics for today and tomorrow, which is a continuation of this theme of virtues, how ethics and economics are sister disciplines.
And when we have you back on the show on the 12th, I think we normally would have had you on the 5th, which would have been election day itself, right? Is it on November 5th? But we'll have you back on the 12th. So by then that choice will have been made, at least for this nation. So we'll dive into that at that time, and I look very much forward to having you back. And I hope that those who are here tonight will come back for that fourth installment. Let me give you a sneak peek, however, into what we'll be seeing next week.
But it often feels so impossible. The hurt runs too deep, the issues around forgiveness, forgetting, reconciling, they all seem so confusing and complex to untangle. But what if there was a cure? What if there was a cure for the cancer of unforgiveness? A way to truly forgive once and for all that could free you from the weight of past wounds and restore your ability to smile, to sing your song, and to be genuinely happy again. This podcast is about discovering Jesus' most powerful secrets to forgiveness. We'll clarify what biblical forgiveness really means and doesn't mean, and discover the path to forgiving others in a profound, life-changing way that you've never thought was possible. If you're ready to let go of unforgiveness, heal from past hurts, and experience the peace and joy that comes from truly forgiving, then the cure for the cancer of unforgiveness is within your reach.
So we will have Luke live in the studio next week talking about forgiveness from the basis of the Bible and Scripture. Very interesting topic. And it did occur to me why I brought up the election. And that was I was making comments about progressive ideas. And I wanted to caveat that with the statement that, in my view, the revelation of God is progressive. It progresses us along a path, just like your model, it's advancing. It's moving from left to right in that sense. It's advancing. However, morality tends to be more conservative, in my view. So there are these balancing factors, and I didn't want to come across like I was promoting a progressive political agenda over a conservative political agenda on the eve of this debate. It is for each and every one of us in the marketplace of ideas, in the divine economic model, to freely and fully express our own opinion on why we think we should vote and how we should vote. And so I just wanted to make sure I'd made that point. Bruce, thank you so much for being with us tonight, covering the divine economy model on the topic of microeconomics. Can't wait to have you back in the studio in a month. Hope people will be looking into your books, purchasing them to dig deeper into this model, get that material for themselves, begin applying it creatively in their own entrepreneurial worlds locally to transform this physical world, this physical economy, into a divine one in which, we might produce an economy that does serve everyone and serve all people. And those are my thoughts. Bruce, anything to add?
Those are beautiful thoughts, Wade. Really, and that's the goal.
Wonderful. Well, that's it. It's a wrap. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, for episode 119 on October 8th with Luke Workington and forgiveness. He had a better title for it, but that's the main topic: the battle against unforgiving.